Shall we talk about tomatoes here today at the Adobe Ring Ranch? Come join us. Hello everybody and welcome back. I figured today we'd do a little talk on tomatoes. I think it's been a little while. We have a little overcast skies today, and most of the varieties of tomatoes are beginning to ripen, and Clint and I have enjoyed a few of them, either raw in a salad or on his Clint's tomato sandwiches. Actually, I'm growing to like them myself. So let's take a quick spin around and I'll point out some of the varieties we've got going on here. So first up, as always, would be my Early Girl. And you've heard me talk about Early Girl in the past in a lot of videos. Even when they didn't have to do with tomatoes, I talked about Early Girl. I really like this variety, maybe because it's just the first plant to start ripening for me, at least in the tomato department. So far, fingers crossed, I've had no blossom end rot on this particular plant, so I'm thrilled about that. And we've picked many tomatoes off of this plant, and she's still producing. Again, this is an early variety, so it's one of the first ones to start setting fruit and get going. It probably won't last as long as some of the other ones, and the fruit size itself is not huge, but in my book, if you can get some early tomatoes, that's how I'm going. All right, so moving along to the next bed here. I'm going to start cheating and looking at some of my plant labels here because I keep forgetting which is which. A lot of these tomatoes are already tiring out at the bottom, so I've been cutting off some of these tired out looking leaves. I may be still having problems with flea beetles, especially at the bottom of the plant, so I've been using insecticidal soap pretty effectively, and it seems to be allowing the fruit and the plants to get a little better looking, in my opinion. I've been fertilizing and I've been watering daily. Now remember, I live in the desert, so I have to water daily. I'm very consistent, and the amount of water I apply to the beds is pretty consistent too, because I do a little head count with the shower nozzle. Here's a tomato here. It looks like it's got blossom end rot, but it's not. It just is forming in a peculiar way. Which one is this now? That one happens to be German pink, and I'm going to show you another one further down that really looks good. This one here that's just starting to turn, not so big. This one's called Abe Lincoln. It was just some seeds that I picked up. I wanted to try a number of different varieties here at the ranch, just to see which ones produce well. This one here is the Costco tomato I talked about not too long ago. It's called Campari, Campari. What happened was that I went into the store, Costco, back in Connecticut, and I picked up a package of tomatoes, and I took them home, and they were delicious, and they really lasted a long time on the kitchen counter. So I thought, wow, this is a great tomato storage, and it tastes great. So what I had done was I had cut one up, and I rinsed off the seeds, and I dried them on a paper towel, and I wound up collecting them and bringing them out here to Texas because I wanted to see how well it would do here. So far, the fruit production is good. Again, not big fruits, but they produce a cluster at a time all over the plant. and they should ripen pretty close to the same amount of time, but they did ripen quite well on the countertop as well. Here's another little grouping. There's a few that are turning for me. So that's a good little tomato so far, yet I have to taste it. I'm trying to figure out how I can get into the back here to see. Let me see which one this is. This one's called Chef's Choice, and it's all the way in the back there. It's a much bigger tomato than, say, Early Girl, but it's just starting to ripen up for me, so it is definitely at least 4 weeks behind Early Girl, but the tomatoes themselves look great. I like the size of it, and no blossom end rot at all. And there's actually a couple more down on this side, looking pretty good. So that one is Pam's Choice, and I've never tasted that variety before, so I'm very curious to see what that tastes like. Now we're moving over to the plum tomato department. And in the plum tomato department, I have planted one that's called Amish Paste, and that's the one that's in the front. And in my book, nobody grows vegetables better than the Amish. Unfortunately, I've got no ripe fruits yet. I do have a couple of green ones coming along though. But the one I've always had great luck with would be Marzano, San Marzano paste tomatoes, and they are a good size paste tomato, I believe, in my opinion, and mine are just starting to turn red as of probably last week. I have a few orangey ones in the back here, and these ones are just starting to turn. There are a number of green ones on the plants, so they seem to be producing their heads off, so that's good. And you need to look at the size of this one. Actually, now that I'm reading the label, that's a big plum tomato. And this is also an Amish paste. So just like I told you, the Amish know what they're doing. I'm going to wait to taste this one separately. A little browning at the bottom. I hope that doesn't turn into any kind of blossom end rot. And I don't know what the story is with this. Why is this one round? That's kind of odd. I'm going to check that one out, but as you can see, blossom end rot. I'm going to try to cut some of the top off here and see how far that blossom end rot goes. But for right now, if I have a problem with the Amish paste tomato with blossom end rot, it's going to be off of my book. And not a possibility for 2027. This again is the San Marzano. This one so far, I've had a few green fruits that started getting blossom end rot. I pulled those off, but now I'm getting a ton of really good looking fruits. Moving along to the next bed here, I have never grown a yellow tomato before, with the exception of a cherry tomato. This is a good sized tomato in my book as well. Again, I'm not looking to set records here. I'm looking to get a decent size tomato for salads and sandwiches and have a great taste. I just figured I'd give a yellow one a go and see how it works. This one here is called Lemon Boy, and it's been okay so far. In this bed, no blossom end rot, but in another bed, I did have some blossom end rot, and it was rather disappointing. Moving to the front of Lemon Boy, I've got another cluster of tomatoes. Again, average size in my book, perfect for 2 people. I don't want to be OD'd in tomatoes. And the name of this one is Stellar, And again, clusters just starting to turn. Looking forward to this one. I have not tasted this one either. Now the reason, before I go any further, the reason why I have grown so many different varieties was, one, to see which ones would do better here in the desert, and two, which ones produced and tasted the best. So I have a lot of reasons for growing the different varieties, and also the maturity dates on the fruit are all staggered. So I've got some that are supposed to ripen earlier, say 50 days to 55 days, and some of them go up to 80, 90, 95 days. So again, that just staggers out your harvest if you plant early, mid, and late maturing tomatoes. Moving on to this side, this was usually my standby back in Connecticut. Great tomato. It's called Celebrity. Now this is a much bigger tomato, and mine are just starting to turn. Celebrity was always good for me. It handled the weather conditions pretty well, cold, hot, muggy, and it's supposed to have some disease resistance. I've got another Celebrity. It's a new introduction. It's called Celebrity Plus. It's supposed to have even more disease resistance. But so far, I think I'm just starting to get fruit on Celebrity Plus. Now there's another tomato in the far back here. I can't even get at it. And this one's called, let's see if I can move some of this vegetation out of the way. There we go. Can you see that? This one's called Cherokee Purple. And I believe this is an heirloom variety, so it's an old timer. And again, as you can see, the shape of the tomato is a little bizarre, but again, most of the heirloom varieties do shape up kind of strangely. I'm going for taste. That one's almost ready to pick. Now going over to my cherry tomatoes. This little bunch has been producing like crazy. I've got 3 plants in here. I've got a Sun Gold, I've got a Sweet 100, and I have something called Apple Yellow. Sun Gold is without a doubt Clint and I's favorite tomato as far as a cherry tomato goes. It produces its head off. The taste is awesome. I've not found another better tasting cherry tomato, and it very rarely splits for us, so that's another big plus. Moving along to the front here, this is the Apple Yellow. Again, it is a yellow cherry tomato, but the shape is just a little different. Why I grew this was because I had extra seeds left over from last year. So the taste is not so bad. It's not like Sun Gold, but it is a decent fruit. And again, I'm looking for varieties because everybody matures at different times and the tastes are just a little bit different. So as far as this for salads, that's a one cut down the middle, throw it in the salad kind of a tomato. And if you want to leave it whole, it's easier to stab with a fork. The Sun Golds are a little difficult because they roll away on you. So this one's Apple Yellow. And then off to the other side, that's the Sweet 100. So that one gets a lot of tomatoes in a cluster. And they turn red when ripe. These are a good tasting cherry tomato as well. So far, cross my fingers, no splitting or cracking on this fruit either. Back home, I may have had, I think I had a Sweet Million, and started off great. And then once those August rains started coming in, I did have some major cracking problems. But here so far in the desert, so far so good. Taking you over to this bed, The wind has had a field day on this bed the last couple of days. It keeps blowing in this one direction. Luckily, all my stakes and tomato cages have been holding things up fairly well. Over here is another one of those stellar that I had mentioned earlier. It's just starting to turn for me, turn color. Why I have this over here is because this was one of my insurance plants. I had two of them just in case the first one tanked on me. I had a backup, and I didn't have the heart to throw it away, so I stuck it in this bed here. I think my labels are all on the other side. This one here is the Celebrity Plus that I talked about, and it is also starting to color up for me nicely. I gotta say that the plant itself is quite robust. There are a lot of good sized tomatoes on this plant. This one's good size in there. Can you see that? That one's a great sized tomato. I have had one or two with the blossom and rot. So for a hybrid type of tomato plant, I was a little shocked to see blossom and rot issues. Actually, since we're on the topic, here's one right here. So when you're looking at your plant, sure, this looks fantastic and you get all excited, right? Nope, the bottom, what a disappointment. So the top looks really good, bottom not so good, and that blossom and rot 9 times out of 10 has gone through the center of your tomato. Let me put that off to the side. This is one of the Pam choices that I picked earlier. Again, the top looks fantastic. I got excited. The whole bottom was no good. So I'm really working on this blossom and rot issue. You can Google search all you want, and they're going to come up with every excuse in the book on why it happens. So I just try to throw everything I can at it. This tomato on this side that has just turned, I would say that's a decent sized tomato. Not had this one either. This one's called Ace. Looking forward to this one, and this one better taste good because this was the transplant variety that transplanted variety that gave me the most trouble. The bugs were all over this one, flea beetles, and it didn't like being transplanted. So I'm hoping that this one tastes really good. We have a number of green ones on here. So that one's called Ace. I am not gonna rule it out for next year because a big plus, no blossom and rot on any of these fruits as of right now. So that's a big plus. I don't know if I mentioned Stellar over here didn't have any blossom and rot either. All right, so let's move it over to this little bed. Again, these two plants on this side were insurance policy plants. This is the Lemon Boy again. I had a few extra, and as you can see, some of these leaves are not looking so good, but they have these little holes, and that's an indication to me that it's flea beetle. I never can see them because they're fast little buggers. They do look like fleas, actually. They're little tiny black beetles. An easy fix is spraying the plants with insecticidal soap, so it's totally safe for humans. Lemon Boy over here is starting to turn yellow. Now this plant here, even though it doesn't have a lot of tomatoes on it, has not produced any tomatoes so far with blossom and rot. So that's a win-win so far. Again, maybe the soil in this bed is a little different from the other one. This one here was an insurance policy. This one was called Abe Lincoln. Again, we've got some blemishes on the fruit. I think that's caused by some bugs. I'm having a lot of trouble with grasshoppers here. I've never seen so many, but I'm dealing with them the best I can. and that is not blossom end rot. That's just the way the fruit formed. So that's not rotting on the inside of the fruit. But I see no more fruits on this plant at all. I do have some flower buds up at the top. Swinging around this way, there's a good sized tomato right there. This variety is called German Pink, and I've not grown this one either. This one has been a 50-50 for me as far as blossom end rot. Here's another one up at the top here. Looks really great, but at the bottom, unfortunately, more blossom end rot. So I really got to get a handle on this problem. Moving towards the center, I had my original lemon boy planted, and these are much smaller than the one I just showed you. And this particular fruit actually does have blossom end rot on it. And there you go. But the green ones next to it on both sides do not. So I'm hopeful that I will get a harvest out of that one. And then we swing around again to Pam's Choice, second planting, different bed. And if we go under here, move a few of these leaves. There she is right there with some fruits slowly ripening. She does have a number of fruits on there, even some smaller ones. So that's a good sign. And there's no blossom end rot to be found at all on this plant. Any ugly looking leaves, like little crispy critters like this, I come around and snip them off every so often just to keep the plant clean and the vegetation looking good. And just in case it's a disease problem, I don't want that spreading to the rest of the plant. Oh yeah, you can see this one is German Pink from the other side. So that's a decent sized tomato. That one I'm really looking forward to tasting. All right, let's swing around over here. Thank you, wind. Hope you can hear me. This side, I went back with Ace again. Again, with this leaf curl and these tiny little holes in the leaves. Again, I think it's flea beetle. I just sprayed with insecticidal soap today because we had a lot of overcast. And I don't like spraying anything on the plants when we've got scorching sun going on. But there's a couple fruits on there, so I'm happy with that. This one on this side is really robust. This is that Costco seed-saving Campari that I snagged last year. And we do have a couple of ripening fruits in the back there. Can you see that? I hope so. So that one's doing well. It's covered in green fruits, and it is surrounded by my cantaloupe vine. This one over here is another one of those paste tomatoes, San Marzano. So far, no fruits at all on this one, but this was a late planting. I think I'm just starting to see some buds on this plant. So we'll see how that goes. And then the only other thing I did on this side was to stick in 2 cherry tomatoes on the back side. And again, I only have the Sweet 100, which would be the red ones. And then on the opposite side, I've got Old Reliable Sun Gold. And I've got some fruits up in here. So I sometimes find Clint in this patch devouring a lot of them, but I got a number of them picked, and we'll put those in salads later. The tomatoes in question here, now I don't know what the heck this is. It's supposed to be Alice's Dream. Check out this green fruit so far. Kind of wild. It's got a lot of cool markings on it. And at first I thought the label got mixed up, but now after doing some Google searching, it could be Alice's Dream. I'm gonna wait for it to color up, and then I'll be able to determine exactly what it is. But here's another little companion on this side. There's one over here called Black Krim, Krim, and the plant is struggling for me. And I've got these little tiny fruits on it. They're not supposed to be this small. Here's another one on this side, and again, they look kind of interesting. They're not quite as smooth as other tomatoes, but that's all right. So we're just gonna wait and see how well this particular tomato does. And of course, you know, every time I talk about tomatoes, I've got to talk about my ground cherries, and I got to talk about the tomatillos. Let's start with tomatillos. They're becoming my most hated vegetable at this moment because it's just been a struggle. They're growing great. The one on the right here actually has fruit on it, and it's got that little papery sac, and then on the inside there's a round tomatillo forming. I can feel it, but there's a couple of them, I would say maybe 8 or 9 on this one plant. The one on the left here, not one fruit anywhere to be found. It was planted at the same time. It's side by side in the same bed. It's covered in flowers. Everything's the same. I don't understand it. All I know is that the wind keeps blowing the 2 of these over, and I think I did stake it with metal stakes not too long ago, but I think I've just about had enough of tomatillos. When it comes down to a day where I'm got nothing else to do, I'm probably going to rip these 2 out of the ground and never plant tomatillos again, and I'm going to allow the ground cherries here to take over the bed, because these ones are struggling themselves, and I think it's because the tomatillos are stripping the ground of a lot of nutrition and probably water by their aggressive root system, but it could also be the grasshoppers. So I don't know yet, but I'm already getting some delicious fruits off of this one ground cherry, and the other one on this side is doing a little bit better. So I'm thinking that the tomatillos are going to be gone in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to let these ground cherries take over the bed, and I'll be getting the bed ready for fall plantings. Where were those other tomatillos? Here's the other one over here. So it's like a little paper sack, and inside there's like a maybe cherry tomato sized fruit in here. It's supposed to be purple in color. I think these are going to turn brown when ripe, but I'm going to Google search that and find out. But again, for the size of this plant, there's not enough fruit for me to justify keeping this going, because it's really ridiculous now. So anyway, I think that's going to be a wrap for the tomatoes, including tomatillos and ground cherries. So far, so good with harvest. Blossom end rot, I think it's giving me a little problem, and the grasshoppers are also giving me a run for my money. And I just have to show you another one of the ground cherries. These have been gobbled up constantly. Say the little papery sack, I did a video on this, and when you open them up, now they fall to the ground and you know they're ripe, but when they open up like that, they're these little tiny fruits that have a fantastic flavor. So let's give this little guy a little try, shall we? That's the pineapple one. Delicious. Again, I love gardening. I like trying different things. A ground cherry was something that we tried last year and fell in love with. I love coming out to the garden and being able to take little samples. as I go around watering and checking out the damage or what's blooming and what's not. But that's been a great little plant for me. What else have I got here? Shall we try a sun gold? Absolutely. Sun gold, you're my best. Love me some sun gold. Delicious. That is definitely one of the Clint's favorites as well. And we love coming out here and just walking around and sticking our hands in the vegetation here and pulling off a tomato or two. I'm trying to find a really red Sweet 100. Very, very good. Again, Sweet 100's probably... Sorry, I'm reaching into the plant. Probably a little more acidic than the Sun Gold. Sun Gold definitely has a sweeter taste. But for the amount of tomatoes that Sweet 100 is producing, I'm not going to rule this one out either. I'll probably grow this one again with Sun Gold and maybe try a different cherry tomato next year. We'll see. There's an awful lot of varieties of tomatoes out there, and it gets a little confusing. And the best part about starting your own plants is that you have a much larger selection of plant material to choose from. You're not zeroed in on whatever the big box stores or the garden centers want you to grow, even though some of the garden centers would probably steer you in the right direction. I think the big box stores would probably steer you in the direction of what's most popular, what sells best for them. So like, either way, I guess you can't go wrong. But if you start your own from seed, you have a much larger variety selection. So that's going to be a wrap from the Adobe Ring Ranch, and a quick spin around in the tomato department, because Hugh's going to be harvesting a lot of tomatoes and making probably some salsa. I don't think I'm going to make sauce. I think it's going to be salsa with this next batch. I don't think I've got enough to make a homemade sauce, and I don't need to do that, but salsa I think would be the way to go. So until next time, maybe there'll be a salsa recipe down the line. Enjoy all of our past, present, and upcoming videos. And we like taking you along for a quick little spin and show you what we have growing on here at the Adobe Ring Ranch. So please be sure and come visit us again real soon. And all of the chickens say hello and best wishes. Take care, everybody.